right. Good evening, my friends, wherever you are. This show is in English. Previously, I gave a show in Germany today, in German language, of course. And the theme of today, some of you may know it. I hope you know it. Tattoos are the new plague. And I mean what I say. It's insane for me. Tattoos are the new plague. And I'm going to try to substantiate that, okay? I'm going to try to substantiate that to tell you why I came up with this word, okay? So let's first look at the word tattoo. The word tattoo or tau comes from the Polynesian islands, Samoa, Tahiti, Tonga, somewhere from there. How the word ended up in our society, I have no idea, and I couldn't find a serious information about it. On the other hand, it's not important. How did it end up in our language, in our culture? The fact it's there, okay? It doesn't matter. Now, when I was a kid, the only people who had tattoos, even as a young man, were roughnecks, sailors. They would come back from a trip with their boats from China, Hong Kong, Japan, Shanghai, wherever, where they got their tattoos, which were typically on the chest or on the upper arm, and they're typically presented an anchor, a naked woman, a mermaid. That were the typical motives at this time. But these guys were in the minority. I mean, they were outlaws. You ever looked at them, you know? So I didn't know anybody personally who had a tattoo. And once in a blue moon, I would see in some place these sailors with a tattoo. Of course, if you had cities, harbor cities, there you saw them more often. But inlands, no, never, really, never. Now, tattoos have been around many countries for hundreds and even thousands of years, as you will see in a minute. Polynesia, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, even Egypt. We'll talk about Egypt in a minute. North America, South America, also Russia, the Caucasus. You had tattoos everywhere. And here is an early image from Japan where people had tattoos. That's a very old photo, I guess from the last turn of the century. And you see the tattoos all over the body. All right, Japanese. We have old tattoos, even with mummies in Egypt, which are dated 3,000 years ago. Imagine 3,000 years ago, you had a mummy with tattoos. So tattoos are not exactly a new invention. Very interesting, very, very interesting. What made the people at this time to have tattoos, I have no idea. Then again, whatever it is, it's been around. Very interesting. The oldest tattoo, however, the oldest tattoo which we have nowadays in the world is 5,300 years old. 5,300 years. There was a very spectacular case when in 1991 in the Alps mountains, they found a guy which was named Ötzi. And Ötzi, a Stone Age man, was killed in the ice. He was killed 5,300 years ago. And they found his mummy only in 1991. And it was so well preserved, it was a spectacular case in the world. And this man is an exhibition in a museum in Bolzano in Italy, in North Italy, in a museum for many, many years where you can see the real man. And the interesting part is that he had tattoos. So we know this is the oldest case, 5,300 years ago. And these tattoos were more or less on the joints, on the ankles. And there was a speculation that they had a medical application, a medical purpose, a medical meaning. And these tattoos seem to have a kind of medical map on this person where they would have to treat him. So that is a very unusual case. Ötzi, O-T-Z-I. If you want to look it up and research it, it's a very interesting story. All right, that's the oldest tattoos. Here's an image of very old tattoos in Japanese culture. Yes, cool. In Polynesia, they have very elaborate tattoos, practically like leggings, like pants, be pulled over the whole human body, up to the waist or even higher. And these tattoos provide information to which people, group, family the person belongs to, and what family he comes from. And that looks something like this. All right. Tattoos can be a declaration of belonging, for example, to a certain ethnical group. In the negative sense, it can be a branding. These tattoos can also represent a lifetime commitment, and you cannot get rid of them. The tattoos can as well serve as a warning, and they have been given to prisoners, to convicts, where the tattoos could not be erased, and when they were getting out of prison, it was a bit of a warning to humanity. Hey, this guy is a bit dangerous, perhaps. So it was a branding for this person for all his life. Tattoos were used as well in slavery. You belong to me. This is my tattoo. You are my possession. As well to forced prostitution, which is another form of slavery. Again, you belong to me. Here is my number, my name, my logo, my image, whatever it is. So tattoos are like a membership of a group, of society, of a social class. Tattoos exist as well as a ritual symbol and in religious sense. In some regions, it is still the case today that small crosses are often tattooed at the wrist, inside of the wrist, small crosses as a sign of Christianity. Until 1990, which is not so long ago, for example, in Bosnia, Catholic girls, they were wearing tattoos. And the idea was to prevent conversion to Islam. Funny ideas. So in addition to the possibilities of tattoos as religious identifications, tattoos nowadays are applied a lot as a jewelry, as a custom jewelry, as a fashion accessory. It even goes that far that women have their eyelids tattooed. So instead of using an eyeliner, they have the eyelids tattoo, which seems to be practical, but we'll talk about the danger of tattoos in a few minutes, and then you may think twice whether it's a cool idea. As well, nowadays, tattoos are very often a sign of protest, a political, cultural statement, as opportunism. And of course, we all know or remember that in Hitler's Third Reich, the inmates in the concentration camps had prisoner numbers tattooed on their arms. And being born and raised in Germany, of course, I came across a lot of Jews in my lifetime. And when I asked an elderly lady why, if she would try to get rid of that tattoo, she said proudly, no. I want people to see that I was in a concentration camp. I want them to see that I survived. I want them to see what has been done. I don't want to hush what has been done. And I'm proud of it because we, at the end of the day, did somehow win this game. Was a remarkable lady, never forget. I met several Jewish people in my life, and became very close to them, besides visiting Israel, of course. On the far other end of the line, what a lot of people don't know, Hitler has this SS group of people, very special group of people, to wearing as bodyguards, wearing as his core force, power. And these SS people had a tattoo in their armpit. The SS sign, the SS rune, in many cases, along with their blood type, were tattooed as well. So in a worst case scenario, people would know their blood type. After the plans of the Nazis didn't work out, many SS people were, of course, hunted down. If they were caught, they were simply asked to lift their arms to see whether they showed the tattoos as an ultimate proof. And of course, they were out of luck at this time. Finishing up the history and the cultural part, it is known in history that some emperors, kings and queens got tattooed. Whatever they may have motivated them to do that, I have no idea, but even those people, some of those people, had tattoos. Now, when we come to the practical part of tattoos, ticking off the historical part, what happens nowadays? In many countries, most all countries, maybe all countries, those who tattoo do not need any proof of their ability, their competence, their skill. No exams, no certification, no technical college degree in the sense of a real profession. There is no acknowledged profession of tattooing. Everybody can do that. You're free to do that. And the government doesn't give a limitation. All you need, you rent a place, you need a simple $10, whatever, business registration. Depending on the country, once in a while, the health department passes by to check the hygienic part of the tools you're using. That's all. That's all. Those people who work on tattoos don't need to know anything. Nobody checks on them. It's crazy. Nobody checks on them. They don't need to know anything, absolutely nothing. And all they need, open up a store, get the registration, fill out some forms of registration, and invest a certain amount of money in the equipment. That's all. Totally scary for me, especially when you hang in there and see in the next few minutes what the tattoos are all about. Then they should be a bit artistically talented. Yeah, sure. But this is a very flexible term. What is artistic and what is talented? All right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that if they would paint paintings or sculptures. But as I've pointed out in a few, harming people, harming the health of people by intention, for me, that's my personal opinion. It's my personal opinion. That's scary. For those who get tattooed, that falls under the heading for me of voluntary mutilation, of voluntary bodily harm. You ask the person, harm me, please harm me, and I don't sue you. I agree with it. That means I let my body hurt, and it has no legal consequences for nobody, but health consequences for the ones who are tattooed. More about this in a moment. So I went to a tattoo shop, to several, and I pretended to be very stupid, and I'm very good in this. I walked up and I said, my opening phrase was, hey, my daughter wants to have tattoos, and I have my doubts about that. Aren't there any short-term or long-term health consequences? Each and every person I asked in the tattoo parlor, everybody says absolutely no risk, no health risk. And they were pounding on their insisted on their hygienic level of their equipment, how they treat the body, their artistic competence. But what happened to the health of their customers? They have no idea. Or they don't want to know. I don't know. They are stupid or pretend to be stupid, uneducated, completely unethical for me. And when I talk to people about this, what I'm telling you today, and I introduce them to the idea there could be something you should be aware of, many of these people, most don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with topics and facts. They don't want to change their worldview. And if you're enthusiastic about something, or maybe you're even economically attached to it, then you just don't want to know. You don't want to acknowledge the counter arguments because it changes your comfort zone. So, and here's where the world differs from the people who take responsibility, well, for what they do, and for people who have ethics. When I sell a product, a service, like here tattoos as an example, from my point of view, I have an obligation to know everything that is positive about this trade and to learn everything that could be dangerous in this context. And then I have an obligation to my ethic positioning in this, to enlighten the customer and say, hey, people, please pay attention. There are some potential downsides, and here they are. And then the customer can make an educated decision. Do I want to do that? Or do I not want to do that? But the customers basically are not giving these choices. They are not informed. So we have people who execute the tattoos who either don't know or don't care, and potential customers who are not educated and just do it, believing it's fine. So what exactly is happening with tattoos? I must preface that I, as a life coach, cannot give medical advice. I try everything in the book to help people to live healthy, to improve the condition on this planet. I try my best. That includes, among others, to detox the body. We have all too much poison in us. We all need to detox permanently, which includes draining heavy metals out of your body. We do everything in the book that heavy metals which are in your body get out of your body, and avoid poisoning by a better lifestyle, a more healthy lifestyle. Now, some of these guys say to me, of course, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Tattoos have been around for thousands of years. Yes, you're right. They have been around for thousands of years. But these tattoos in previous times, they were all done with natural dyes from nature. Today, however, this is not the case. Many of you may not know that today's dyes used in the tattoos are from the car paint industry. Car paint. The dyes injected in your skin are car paint, and from the printing industry. Printing dyes. Now you can imagine, it doesn't take a lot of imagination and fantasies, that all these dyes are full of heavy metals, full of toxins, full of poison. And as well, the soot they're using for tattoos. So they're using primarily dyes from the car industries, dyes from the printing industries, and soot. And all these materials do not correspond or match any health standards. If the regular doctor, I assume, would today take these toxic materials and inject them in your body, I believe they will shut down his praxis and take him to court if a regular doctor would give you these products, inject them into your body. They have no health standards. These dyes include most likely lead, zinc, cadmium, nickel. All fantastic products we do not want in our body. All these products should be not in anybody's body, in nobody's body. And you can imagine that these dyes don't come from an organic farm. Not at all. They're not organic. They're highly toxic. Let me show you one or two images what that looks like in case you've never been to a tattoo parlor. It's like a pen, and we'll see in a second what a pen does. Okay, so what happens in the process of tattooing itself? They have these machines which inject 120 pinpricks per second into your skin. 120 pinpricks in a second into your skin, up to 3 millimeters deep. The needle pricks injures the skin and affects the underlying tissues down to the dermis. Immediately, an inflammation occurs. Immediately. And these inflammations may last for several days or even weeks. That's the easiest part, which everyone realizes more or less you cannot hide. And people accept it without thinking twice. Okay, I have strong inflammations. Why? Because I hurt the body. Very simple. So, every second, 120 pinpricks, which inserts the dye 1, 2, 3 millimeters deep into the skin. 120 per second. Now you should know how the immune system reacts to such attacks done to the body. Example. All of us, we had experience that we get a splinter into our finger, a wooden splinter by working on something. We all experience that. Very painful, unpleasant. This happens to all of us once in a while. What happens in fractions of a second, the immune system realizes that here is a foreign product which doesn't belong here. We have to get this product out. It doesn't belong here. And what does the immune system do? It immediately sends legions of white blood cells to combat these unwanted parts. They're fighting these parts. You got to get out of here. In this battle, these white blood cells die by the trillions. They die fighting that material. And when the white blood cells die, this is called pus. Pus is nothing else than dead white blood cells. Now, when we have now the tattooing process, thousands of poisoning dye particles penetrate into the body. Thousands. Particles which don't belong there. Some of the dyes remain in the skin as intended to paint the picture. It is estimated that up to 30% of the dye, especially the liquid part, migrates somewhere into the body. So the immune system naturally identifies these as foreign substances, as substances that damage the body. And in a self-defense, the immune system sends out white blood cells, as explained. These try to encapsulate these toxins. A large portion is flushed out through the body, goes somewhere. However, this is what it looks like when the macrophages, the white blood cells, try to protect the body against these poisons by swallowing, encapsulating them, trying to put them in a safe place and flush them out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that easy. It doesn't flush them out that easy. A large portion of these particles, in the attempt to get it out of the body, end up and deposited in the lymph nodes, the bulwark of our immune system. They end up in the lymph nodes. And there they may be sitting for the rest of your life. Now, if you understand that the lymph nodes are a substantial part of our immune system, our health, that's a scary thought. It's a very scary thought. And some people were clever enough to say, let's check it out. They took some people who were dead, they cut lymph nodes, removed them, and sliced them open to see what is it about the lymph nodes now after the tattoo dyes are stuck and caught in the lymph nodes. For example, here you see somebody whose tattoos were primarily yellow and green. So this is that what you see there, it's a cut open lymph node. And you see it looks like a birthday cake. Yellow and green, like jelly. So, in consequence, the two colors, the dyes, end up in the lymph nodes. And that's shocking. And here is another case of somebody whose tattoos were primarily black. And the lymph nodes, in consequence, show the black dyes. Now, the problem is these dyes will stay there most likely for the rest of your life. We don't know yet for sure because we're missing research. We're missing research over years. We need a 10, 20, 30, 40-year study on all this to have safe data how bad it is. It's bad. There's no question. Nobody needs to discuss with me, it's okay, it's healthy. Nonsense. It is bad. But unfortunately, we don't have long-term studies yet. And I'm not even sure who wants to study that. The tattoo industry? Of course not. The government? Are they really interested in it? I don't know. There's, and without any doubt, a very short-term health effect. Bad. And without any doubt in my mind, there's a long-term health effect. You cannot have your lymph nodes sabotaged by this dye, which occupies the lymph node and keeps the lymph node as a slave of the dye. We are trying all the time to free people from heavy metals in the body. We're trying to get chemicals out of the body and not to further consume them. How can somebody, for example, which I've seen, shop in a health food store to try to buy organic food and at the same time has tattoos and gets more tattoos? For me, that's a perverted situation. Now, can I blame the people who have tattoos? Hard to say yes or no. They were not educated. And to my definition and lifestyle, that belongs in the elementary school taught as a subject. What do tattoos do to your body? Such as bad water, such as electromagnetic radiation. Nobody teaches kids in school. And you know what? Even worse, nobody teaches doctors on universities about all that. When doctors from universities come to my seminars, many of them walk up to me and say, Why did nobody teach us these topics on the university? But you learned trigonometry, right? And the doctors admit that they were educated to prescribe toxic chemicals against whatever illnesses. And people come to me and said, why do I have this illness? Why am I sick? I lived always so healthy. Well, apparently not. People don't even realize what they do to their body. If God would have wanted us to have tattoos, trust me, he would have us been born with tattoos, but he didn't. The body is damaged by tattoos, to my humble opinion. I'm not a doctor, I cannot give medical advice. That's my personal opinion. When I speak to people about tattoos, they usually reject what I'm saying because they don't want to leave their comfort zone. They are mental couch potatoes. Don't bother me with something I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I have people who tell me in the face, I don't want to know. I want to keep what I'm comfortable with and what I believe in. I want to keep what I'm believing. If I tell people how acidic Coca-Cola is, 100,000 times too acidic, do you think they stop drinking Coca-Cola now? They want to keep it. We are so stupid. We are so stupid. We look at certain animals and we say, look, this animal species is about to extinguish from this planet. What a pity. I tell people, look in the mirror. We are the most dangerous, endangered species on this planet. We are about to leave this planet. There's no question. The problem is we do it to ourselves, while the animals, they don't do it to themselves. We do it to them. We do it to nature. We do it to plants. We spoil the soil. We spoil the oceans. Microplastic, chemicals, which are undigestible. The air, the poor food, the nutrition missing, the minerals missing, the crappy water people are drinking, the electromagnetic radiation. We're doing it to ourselves. And you know what? We're enjoying it. It's sexy. It's rock and roll. Look at my tattoos. How cool they are. I'm a cool dude. I have these tattoos. What do we think? We can do whatever we want? Some of you keep listening to my presentation, and I don't know why you keep listening, because I say always the same thing, more or less, right? I say this thing here, rest in peace. Mankind is extinct because they believe the laws of nature were not valid for them. We really believe we can screw nature and not paying a price? Come on, guys, wake up. How stupid is that? How stupid is that to throw poison in the ground, which comes through water and food back on our plate, and we don't see it, we don't smell it, and we think it's all cool, it's healthy, we are great people? No, we are idiots. Complete idiots. We deserve to vanish from this planet. We did it to ourselves. But what we do is sexy, it's rock and roll, it's fluffy, it's entertaining. Suicide with fun. We commit suicide with fun. Today, every third person dies of cancer. The number is going to get worse. We cannot expose our bodies to all kinds of toxins like electromagnetic radiation, cell phones, Wi-Fi, eat plastic, bad water, poor quality food, and then on top of all this, tattoos. And we think they have no consequences for our health. It's impossible. We ignore it. And we're happy ignoring it. Don't change my lifestyle. I'm a mental couch potato. I don't want to change my life. I don't want to give up what's comfortable and sexy. We do it to the animals, we do it to the nature, we do it to the plants, and we do it to ourselves. Now, talking back about the tattoos, there's another aspect. In addition of poisoning with those dyes, we are, in fact, ignoring that the skin has a connective tissue. And through this connective tissue of the skin, there runs microfine electrical currents. That's the part of our bodily functions. The electric currents runs through our body. When we do tattoos, this flow of energy is disrupted or compromised. So do scars. And that means a reduction of health. On top of that, we have the risk of infections, of tattooing the first days a lot, the first weeks. Eventually it may go away. But you have open wounds. You must be aware you have open wounds when you do tattooing. When you go to a swimming pool, you go out in the open air, you may catch a lot of bacteria. They, of course, go into the open wounds. Now, what is the amount of people who are tattooed? Nobody knows exactly. There are probably no reliable numbers available. I know that the numbers has drastically increased after 2010. That's about a time frame. I was observing all that. According to my observation, in the last 3-4 years, that number has dramatically increased again. And the point is not just for minors, adolescents, or people in middle age, but increasingly I even see elderly, really elderly people having tattoos. Wow. In my viewpoint, this number keeps increasing. It's going still crazy, and there's no end in sight. That's why I call the show Tattoos Are the New Plague. You can't stop it. It's like an avalanche. The other day I was with my kids in a water park. I looked how many of these people swimming by in the lazy river were tattooed. After a few minutes, it was pretty clear to me and obvious that about 30% of the people were tattooed. And when I'm talking about tattoo, I'm not talking about a small little rose on your foot. Many body parts are straightforward littered across the board with tattoos. And I should point out at this moment that it's not very cheap to do tattoos. And I can see even a tendency, which I would call addiction, that people are addicted to get tattoos. I see them non-stopping and finding another spot and adding another thing, save some money and do the next thing. They already have a plan what they want to do. They sketch out their body parts and make a plan what they want to do. Now, so far we have ticked off the areas of the historical level of tattoos, the social level of tattoos, the health level. What remains is the psychological level. And you may ask yourself, what drives people to have tattoos? Well, I asked myself, and I looked into this. Let's start from Adam and Eve. Every person has a personal value. Every person. You are valuable. The problem is that many do not believe this for themselves. They were typically, in most cases, invalidated from childhood onwards, mostly from the parents. Whatever the parents pushed onto these children, like you are a loser, you are worth nothing, you are ugly, and you are this and that and the other. Kids have been invalidated from childhood on. And I've said in my seminars for many years that unfortunately, parents are often your worst friends. And I experience it all the time when I look around, walk the streets, are in places, and I see how parents treat children. You humiliate them, hurt them inside and out. This has not happened to myself, fortunately, but I've seen it with others, even in my own family. I go out there with open eyes and ears to the world and experience every day out there. I know what I'm talking about. To my personal opinion, nobody is born as a murderer or a born child molester. To my personal opinion, people are conditioned through physical and or mental abuse to eventually become a murderer and to become a child molester. That's my personal opinion. Now, again, of course, what's the question? What motivates people to get tattoos? Again, my personal opinion, I think for many it refers to the fact, as described above, they have been invalidated as a child, from childhood on. They don't think about themselves as valuable, maybe a lack of self-esteem. They think that they're more interesting, more valuable, more beautiful when having tattoos. There may be this idea as well to distract from you as a person. If you look at the tattoos, you don't look at me. That's my personal opinion. They don't want to or cannot be just themselves as God-given nature is there. Maybe as well, they wish to be someone else, like a carnival mask for life. I'm hiding behind that mask forever. Some may want to appear particularly roughshod. Whatever they are, men or women, look how tough I am. Wow. Maybe I wish to scare others away and scare the others after myself being so scared by others before. Pay back. And the body has quite a few inches which can be covered. And it seems to be a never-ending story. As I said, I think a lot of people are hooked. They start somewhere and there's no ending. There is no ending. For me, it's clear that they don't do it for themselves in most cases. Lots of tattoos, maybe most of them can never be seen by the people themselves. The artwork are on your back, on your neck, your calves, for the others to walk behind you or stand behind you on the side to see, but you don't see it yourself. So why would you do it? To enjoy these pieces of art where you cannot even see them? I understand if you have a nice painting on the wall, nice sculpture, you can look at it, you can enjoy it. But most people who are tattooed cannot even physically see their own tattoos. And even if you have them in front, like on the legs or on the chest, and you can hardly see them. Looking down in a strange angle, what can you enjoy? And if there are written words, well, you cannot even read these words. When you look in the mirror, you can't read them. And again, I see so many tattoos on the backs, on the neck, wherever. But I do not believe that people truly can enjoy looking at their own tattoos. But again, that's my personal opinion. There's another important point for me, maybe even the most important point of all. I love children and I do everything for children. Children are my joy. Absolutely. Now, when I see children 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, they have to look at the tattoos of their parents on a daily basis for the rest of their lives. And I try to imagine what effects these images have on the mental, emotional world of children. Because frankly, for me, to my point of view of aesthetics, there's so much drama with these tattoos. Overwhelming, upside down, crazy. And for me, I pity the children whose parents show these tattoos, especially with horror scenarios, skulls and demons, very dark, a lot of very dark images. And the kids have to look at them permanently all the time. And even some more easy tattoos are questionable. And that comes up the point when a child grows up with these images. What concept does a child have long-term about beauty, aesthetics? And we don't know, we have no idea about the long-term possible long-term damages to the children. Who protects the children from that crap? But no one can discuss taste, I guess. It used to be said, parents should lead by example. Parents should lead by example. Excuse me? Well. That's the example for parents to lead the children? Wow. To my personal observation, these parents don't really care the slightest. Now, my request to you out there, and my recommendation, if you have tattoos with what you learned today, maybe you want to stop to have any further tattoos. Or if you don't have tattoos, you may think twice now whether you really want to get tattoos. Try your best to have an impact on your children and grandchildren not to do tattoos, which is difficult, of course, because nowadays the young generation particularly grow up in those groups which many have tattoos, and it's perhaps already a part of a status symbol to have tattoos. It's very hard to get kids not to do it, but you should try. If you look at these health and mental consequences, bad news. Here's a practical advice from me to those who are thinking about tattoos. Please do not put the name of your loved one as a tattoo on your body. Do not do that. No Peter or Mary, whatever her or his name is. Say, dear sweetie, honey, whatever, baby, whatever you want to say. These types of names have an endless expiration date. After the next divorce, you don't have to start all over again. Carrying around the name Peter as a tattoo with whom you broke up 5 years ago, and you're carrying it around for the rest of your life, that name, can be very demotivating and depressive for the rest of your life. You will be constantly reminded of this Peter because in a lousy moment, in a cozy summer night when you said, this is the love of my life, and you believed in it. I understand. You believed in it. History has shown that in most cases, whatever the percentage is, 80, 90, 95, these names did not survive a relationship, but you carrying around that name for you forever. I have an extreme example. One of my associates, she put the name of her boyfriend on her body. And when I met this guy, I knew he was very bad news. And I tried my best to make her see what's going on. And she woke up one day. It was just in time. Many, many stories. The bottom line is, the police found in his apartment a letter in which he explains how he's going to kill this particular woman. He had a plan to kill her and mistreat the children, that the children would love him. And she had her name, his name, on their body as a tattoo. This is a personal story I witnessed. So my suggestion is, if you put a name on there, put baby. baby lasts at least 4 or 5 divorces, and it lasts the rest of your life. Good or not so good. Now there is a possibility, which we should mention, that remove is possible, that the removal of tattoos is possible. Not only remove the wrong name, but describe other things which are not so good anymore because you changed. I have met many people who said to me, this was such a stupid thing for me to do. I did it when I was young. I should have never done it. Well, the removal of tattoo is not cheap. And I heard, I don't have one, I never had to remove one. And I heard that it's very painful. And it, in most cases, leaves some kind of scars. But a lot of people go through that process to remove the tattoos. It's possible, not cheap, a bit painful. Now, I came across one technology to erase tattoos by laser technology. The laser, it bursts the dye of the tattoo in your skin. The tattoos are physically blown up. The dye is blown up in bits and pieces. But then, of course, we have the same problem again, that these toxins will end up to a large part in the lymphatic system, like the same way when you got them done first. There may be one or two other techniques. I'm not totally familiar. I'm not spending my lifetime on tattoos, but there may be options. Now, then there's a new way, which is really funny, to get rid of tattoos. How to get rid of a tattoo or several tattoos you have? Well, there is this tattoo artist called Kat Von D. And she said she's happy to have her garbage drunken tattoos covered up with new blackout ink. To cover them up with blackout ink. What does that mean? Well, I'll show you what it means. It's different. So imagine you have on your leg 10 tattoos and you're not happy with them anymore. Maybe there was Paul and Jim and whatever name and some whatever statements and foul language, whatever it was, I don't know. You black them out. And this is what she did. And what she, as a very known, you can look her up on the internet, very known tattoo artist, she did to herself on her leg. She just basically blackened out the entire leg. And every tattoo which was there before, except this one there, which she still shows, every tattoo on this left leg is gone. An interesting way to get rid of tattoos. Not everybody's taste, but maybe somebody's taste. I don't know. Is it your taste? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, that's this lady. Now, before we're finishing the show, I'm pretty much through with tattoos. What I have to say and to explain. There's one thing which is very important. Everything is very important, maybe. But I saw that most people who have tattoos have piercings as well. Or people have piercings who may have no tattoos. Okay, anyway. But we must talk, I must say something about piercing before I end the show. The piercing installing metal rings and parts through the skin. Okay. In principle, to my humble point of view, it is very, very bad to insert any kind of metals to any body part. You should have your body without any metals. The body has a natural flow of this finest electrical current, as I explained before, running through the body, running through the skin, through the layers, especially through the connective tissues, the skin. And any metal in your skin, in the body, disrupts the natural flow of this body fine electricity, as with tattooing or with scars and with piercing. The connective tissues are injured by piercing. The flow of energy is interrupted, compromised by the piercing. In the first days after piercing, again, you have the risk of infection, very high because you have open wounds. You have holes in your skin. Allow me to be more specific about the damage to your health, as I feel this could be so vital for your life, and it's totally underestimated and not even known or understood by most medical doctors. The needle causes scars, and scars create interference fields in your body, as I pointed out. According to German research papers, a list of some of the complaints that have been shown to be created or contributed by scars includes, and I'll read only a few, let me read them down: headaches, migraines, allergies, asthma, chronic pain, confusion, liver disease, menstrual pain, back pain, circular disorders, bladder dysfunctions, prostate disorders, skin disease, ulcers, hormone imbalances, thyroid disease, and so on, and so on, and so on. What does that mean at the end of the day? It means that these scars, whether you have them from tattoos or from surgeries or from the metal in your body, like the piercing, it doesn't matter where the scars come from. At the end of the day, they create all these many problems, can create. And the problem is that most doctors don't know, and there is no a clear indicator. Only one problem in your body can refer to scars. No, the consequences can be all over the place. That makes it so difficult to determine it. I should raise the question, is tattoo ink carcinogenic? As I mentioned before, because tattoo ink contains harmful and toxic components, which are already listed, which are considered by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, to be cancerous. It is safe to say that ink can be cancerous. Possible car pain side effects can be the respiratory inflammation or disease, as well as skin rashes and inflammations, allergic reactions, nerve and brain damage, nausea, organ failure, headache, and vomiting. These are all possible effects of car pain, which have been experienced and which could be causal effects because of car pains being used in tattoos. Besides, as I already pointed out, the ink sits in the lymph nodes, but the ink travels as well. Via blood, it eventually becomes stuck as well in other body areas, not only the lymph nodes, like the liver, for example. Because of the poisoning, these symptoms become much more serious and persistent. Depending on the degree of poisoning, the symptoms may include, but not are limited to, tattoo swelling, swelling of the surrounding area, lymph node swelling, increased joint pain, and body pain aches, increased body temperature, fever and chills, irritation and rashing of the tattooed area, nausea, and vomiting headaches. What does that mean in total? Whether it's the scars, whether it's the paint, whether it's the tattoo action of the needles, the summarization is very simple. As a result, the toxic compounds used for the tattoos plus the scars cause oxidative stress, which results again in inflammation. The inflammation damages the cells and the immune systems, which then may result in cancer or any other diseases. I indicated before, and I want to underline this again. In my personal opinion, Tattooing is a business activity which should be forbidden and should be prosecuted as grievous bodily harm. In consequences, the very next question then is, who pays cost of the treatment and the injured people? And who absolutely wants to have a tattoo, please inflict yourself as a self-mutilation. That's my real personal opinion about this theme. It's completely underestimated and not known. You may think twice, or not even think twice, just don't do it. And motivate others not to do it. And if you have already tattoos, please do not go on. And watch out for certain symptoms you may have in health that they may be referring to the tattoos, which the average doctor may look in complete different areas and work on your body, but misses the point. There is another subtle, very subtle area which I at least want to mention, point out to you. Some people say that these tattoos, especially with demonic images, satanistic images, may cause mental problems. As to the belief of some people, these images pull in demonic vibrations, frequencies, intentions. So there may be a big mental part which normally nobody talks about to be considered. Okay? But there's something deeper than that. And it refers to, you may be surprised, it refers to the subject of Chinese acupuncture. I cannot go today there in details. I will make eventually a show in which I introduce you what I learned as a basic introduction to Chinese medicine. I'm not a specialist, but I've seen enough when I was partially living, staying in China, having my companies there. I was introduced to Chinese culture with my former wife. So I've seen a few things. And I will give an introduction at another show. So people cannot hardly imagine what the hell has piercing to do with Chinese medicine. I'll give you a quick rundown. There are more than 400 acupuncture points in your body. And these acupuncture points sit along what is called meridians. Here's an example of meridians, these lines, what I call the high roads of energy, the motorways of energy through your body. And along these meridians are some 400 acupuncture points. This is what it looks like. And here I have Johnny with me. He sits on my table in my workspace, and Johnny shows all these main meridians and the acupuncture points, right? All right. So why do I say that? How acupuncture basically works. Let's say you have a problem with your immune system, and you have, when energy is reduced or stuck along the meridians, the flow, let's say the immune system. There's an acupuncture point here below your wrist, and there's one here below your elbow. So these two acupuncture points are responsible, for example, among others, for the flow of energy in your immune system. Now, when your immune system doesn't properly work, this is the basic thought. You have a needle here, you have a needle here, and these two needles free the flow of energy, which is now reduced or stuck. And when the energy opens up, you're up for better health. Okay? This is basically the concept. So when you pierce your body, the chance that you run the piercing into an acupuncture point is extremely high. And what happens then is that this acupuncture point is permanently, continuously, for days, months, and years stimulated. It can be stimulated, which it shouldn't do. Acupuncture is a short-term treatment to improve the body functions. And having the piercing in such a position can be an overstimulation of the body and bad for the health. Now, we all see that many people who wear piercings have a truckload of piercings around their ears, which is highly bad. Why is it bad? Well, I'll show you. Because in the ear, you have a truckload of acupuncture points for the hand, the wrist, the toes, the spine, the knee, the hip, the forehead, the eyes, the upper jaw, whatever it is, the neck, the shoulder, the arm, the chest, the elbow. It's all there. So a Chinese doctor, an acupuncturist, can find those acupuncture points throughout the body, but as well within your ear. And they stimulate these acupoints in your ear. And when they stimulate the acupoints in your ear, they treat you as an acupuncturist. Now, if you put piercing in your ears, the chance is pretty much that you hit an acupuncture point. In consequence, my humble opinion, absolutely no piercing, no matter in which part of the body. No piercing at all. Whatsoever, never ever. And of course it can become extreme, and I'll show you some extreme situation. Piercing, tattoos through the wazoo, and creating your own horns on your forehead. Well, everybody has to decide what you feel great about and what makes you feel good. And for me, basically, everything is acceptable as long as you don't harm other people and bother them. However, with the exception of what I mentioned before, if you have children, for me, all this is completely unacceptable. You don't love your children. That's my definition. You harm the children. You ignore their feelings because you think you're cool. All right. Here somebody says, I have tattoos and I tell my kids they are a mistake. Thank you very much for saying that to your children and telling them, look, if I made a mistake, I realize that. Don't make the same mistake. That's great. That's all you can do. And we all make mistakes, and the problem is with tattoos, it's a long-lasting thing. But to warn the children, thank you for doing so. Phil is asking, do you think tattoos also attract negative radiation? No, I don't think so. But it weakens the body. And it makes you sick. I just learned today, unfortunately a bit late, that there is a doctor here in town. She became very sick because of tattoos, and they found out, took them forever, I heard, to find out that it was the reason of the tattoos. And I have to get her book to see what she says about it. Unfortunately, I just learned about it today, otherwise I would have loved to have coffee with her and talk about it. Do you think tattoos also attract negative radiation? No, I don't think so. But it weakens your body and your resistance against everything coming from the outside and happening in your body. And the only way to handle negative radiation is always negative to my opinion. The only way to handle radiation are my protective products. My protective products to nullify radiation so it doesn't harm your body. I have several shows where I talked about this. So I hope that answers the questions. Do you think tattoos also attract negative radiation? Any more questions? Oh, this is very interesting. I heard that a portal for demons can be made with certain tattoos. And Phil says, that's a strange field of study I'm looking at. I'll be happy, Phil, if you share with me after the show by emails, by phone calls, by whatever what your findings are. Do I think that is possible? Yes, I think it's possible. Do I have certain experience with myself or others? No, I don't. But from the concept point of view, it makes a bit sense to me. Rebecca says maybe accompanied by bad lifestyle. I don't know to what you're referring this, Rebecca. Maybe accompanied by bad lifestyle. The demon thing. Of course, every lifestyle which has weaknesses or is destructive or being pushed on us by other forces can easily put us on the wrong track, and we are receptive to certain influences, which are usually negative influences. Okay, my friends. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you at the next show. So let me finish my show. I'm trying to make my contribution that the world will be a little healthier, mentally and physically healthier. I do not feel good when I see the enormous amount of people who get tattooed, as they don't realize what they're doing to themselves. That's the pity of it. They usually don't realize it. This show is for me an obligation, as I wish to share with people out there my findings, as the topic is hardly officially discussed. These are my personal findings. I may be wrong. I may be right. You must decide. To my opinion, this should be taught in school to prevent children, but we prefer to teach them trigonometry. Wonderful, wonderful trigonometry. And I even see many people, signs of intensive addictive behavior, as I pointed out, getting more tattoos. And my theme for this show is tattoos are the new plague. And I want to finish this show. You remember this lady before who blackened her leg? The artist Kat Von D. She said the following: before anyone starts criticizing, I encourage you to remember that it's okay not to like or understand, or even understand things. That she speaks from the bottom of my heart. It's okay not to like or even understand things. There are things in this world I don't like. And it's okay, she says, not to like it. And there are things in this world I have a problem to understand. I tried to get some explanation today across what I think it could be. I'm not sure I'm right or wrong. I just throw in some ideas. All right, my friends. Thanks a lot for watching. I see you soon again, I hope. Bye-bye.